Good morning, welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. It's a time of year, fall, kids are back in school, that reading becomes pretty much in the forefront of our minds. I don't know about you, but I kind of forget about it. In the summer, I go out and I play and I enjoy the weather. But when this time of year rolls around, it starts getting a little cooler. It's kind of awesome to get inside, and if you're in school, study, or sit down with a really great book. And we have a local author here in town right now, or here on the show right now, Elizabeth Eve King. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
She's been a writer since 2000, but we are today talking about your most recent series, the Eddie Evers series.
Right.
So give us a little bit of your background and tell us about your writing history.
Sure. Well, I grew up in LA in the Hollywood Hills. My father was a writer, and he was actually started a writers group that had Ray Bradbury and Richard Buck, and so I sort of grew up sitting on the living room steps listening to these people read, not realizing, you know, I didn't know Ray Bradbury was a famous writer. I just knew he was this great presence. But so I always wrote, but I also danced, and I was into biology and art. So I've also worked in art a lot, painting, done some large murals, and biology. And then I really started writing more seriously in 2000, and that's when Ray really became my mentor. I used to go visit him, and he would give me help and suggestions, and I've been writing ever since.
There you go. And you said you were on our show back in 2010 for what book was yours?
That was my first book out. It's called Dirk Quigby's Guide to the Afterlife, All You Need to Know to Choose the Right Heaven. And it's kind of a Zagat guide to about 17, like, how do you get in? Once you get in, you know, what's the food like? What's the music like? What are the accommodations like? So if you're really religious, you might not like it. But if you're a little open-minded, you'll probably enjoy it a lot.
But today we are actually talking about the Eddie Evers series, and there's 2 books in it so far, Electric Detective and The Hollywood Portal is the latest book. Let's talk about the series. Tell us about it and fill us in on what this series is about.
Great. Well, it started out actually Eddie Evers' Electric Detective as a short story that was read in Los Angeles, and Sally Short does a short fiction. It's fiction read by LA actors. It's kind of exciting at a club. And they read short stories. Fabulous job. And that was one story that was read there about this detective who's struck by lightning. And when he's struck by lightning, the lightning supercharges the biophotons in his brain. So he starts having these visions. First he thinks they're the past and the future, because that's what I thought at first. But it turns out they're really views into other dimensions, and he can almost speak to electricity. So he gets all these, he doesn't know what's happening, but he starts being able to figure out clues of what's happening due to these electrical impulses.
So the detective has to be a detective about what's happening in his brain.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
And so the first one is actually Electric Detective.
There you go.
And then the second one in the series, The Hollywood Portal, won the Whodunit Award, which is an international mystery prize, excuse me, out of Florida, Key West. Sponsored by Amazing eBooks, and they do this competition where they just judge the book on its first few pages, and because they say if you're not in by the first few pages, then you're not in. Right. So that's all they read, and I got picked, so that was really exciting.
You brought him in on those first few pages.
Yes.
You did your job, and you got your word. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And so these books, obviously we should read them because it brings you in the first couple pages. I mean, I'm a reader where if a book is really good, I will be reading until 4 in the morning. So I'm that person. So I bet I would be really sucked in by your book. It sounds fantastic. Where all can people find this book? I mean, obviously it's a paperback, but is it on Amazon? Is it the local library? Where can people find it?
It's on Amazon. I think Dirk Quigby is in the local library. This one is fairly new, so it's not in there yet, but it's on Amazon. It's on any of your e-readers. You can, you know, so both Kindle, but also what are the other ebook, Kobo, and
all kinds.
All kinds. Plus, it's also, this one is also on Audible, so if you like to listen, I always love to listen while I do things. It's narrated by a really talented narrator, Christopher Grable. And so he's the voice of Eddie, who's kind of a Raymond Chandler-esque, you know, hard-boiled, hard-drinking detective. And so he's done the first book, and then we're also planning an audiobook for Hollywood Portal, which will be out very soon.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth because I've been road tripping a lot lately, and I love being read to. And I did a 10-hour road trip one way, and I had a book on tape, and it went by like amazingly. Like usually you'll get exhausted and you just want to get out, but I was like, the book is so good. So I'm so glad to hear these are on Audible, because I will definitely, that'll probably be the direction I'll go.
Oh,
as you
great.
said, I like being read to as well. I think a lot of people do. And with busy lifestyles nowadays, if you can be working on laundry or whatever and be listening to a good book, it's kind of awesome.
Exactly. I mean, it makes household chores or gardening or anything so much. It's like, oh, keep reading to me.
Yeah. So thank you for doing that. Do you have any other thoughts in your head for more books to come that we can be looking out for from E.E. King?
Yes, I have actually a lot of too many thoughts. That's the problem.
Fun.
But I have the third series of Eddie Evers is all plotted out. I just have to do the writing part.
Sure.
And then I also have another series in my head about a female detective who suffers or is blessed, however you want to put it, by very strong synesthesia, which is when your senses, it's an actual condition. She has a kind of a almost mystical, you know, I've taken it up, it is fiction after all, but where your senses are intertwined, so you might, like the number 7 might be yellow to you. Or the day Tuesday might smell like violets. You have, and so she gets all this sensory input, and it's going to be a time travel novel. So I have a series of those in my head as well, and then I also have a dystopic novel that is done called Beyond the Mist that will probably be out in this year or next year maybe. And a few more, like if you go to my website, which is actually ElizabethEveKing.com, even though I write under E.E. King. But there are links to all books. I'm in a lot of anthologies because I like short stories, and I have a couple of short story collections.
That's fantastic. So you have a ton for people to check out and read, and
Yeah.
a lot to look forward to.
Yes,
Sounds
hopefully.
like. Best of luck with that. I'm actually very interested in that female detective series you just talked about. That sounds very, very interesting.
Oh, cool.
So
Thanks.
ElizabethEveKing.com
Yes.
for in your bios on there, I'm sure, just so people want to learn about you, but also get links to your books, buy books, and really enjoy what you've written down for us.
Right, definitely.
Thank
that
you
would be
so much.
great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that you came up and you explained your books to us, and that people can go on your website and check it out and just enjoy the joy of reading, or being read to, as it were. So thank you so much. So go to ElizabethEveKing.com, check out her Eddie Evers series, which is Electric Detective, and the latest is Hollywood Portal, but also just peruse around and check out all the amazing things she has to offer on her website and the books to come. So keep an eye on her website as well. Look for E.E. King in your library or online, because she has a lot to offer and a lot more to come. And so do we here on the Mountain Morning Show. We have a lot going on this morning, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking to Nuzzles & Co. We're also going to be talking to Red Cross about the hurricane that is approaching the East Coast, so stay tuned. We have a lot of information for you.